Chapter 887, Familiar Figure. Upon hearing Klein's question, the infant wrapped in silver silk raised his fleshy arms and threw them up. I can't do anything about it either. I'm still in my mother's womb. Although you can no longer write on that paper crane, it can still help me locate you. If there's anything, I will inform you. Klein had already expected such an answer from Will Ossipton. He maintained his smile and explained, "That paper crane is already damaged. I think it will have problems locating my position." Following that, he gave his suggestion. "Perhaps we can do this. You can summon my messenger when you're born to write to me." He wasn't too worried that Will Ossipton's birth would result in anything abnormal, causing the snake of fate to have to change locations while in a baby's body. That would prevent him from contacting him again. Inside the black pram, Will Ossipton gaped his mouth before closing it again, momentarily not giving an answer. After a few seconds, the infant's mouth curled and said, "Do you think that's realistic? Not only are you getting a newborn to write a letter to you, he still needs to hold a ritual and summon a messenger." Klein chuckled and said, "But you're a snake of fate. The laws of nature still need to be respected." Will Ossipton threw down his arms and smacked the cushion beside him. This infant thought for a moment and said, "Let's do this. Get someone to watch this area. Once they realize an infant is born, they can immediately inform you." Klein's eyes darted about for a while before saying, "That works." On this matter, he had many people he could get help from. He could hire a gangster through Sharon and inform him via his messenger, or he could get the usually free Emlyn White to do it. He could also hire bounty hunter, Miss Zio, letting Miss Magician be responsible for informing the world Jam and Sparrow of the developments. He could also get Arrows to take note of the surroundings and report to him through a one-way communication method. However, that fellow, Emlyn's nose, is very sharp. I wonder if he will smell the placenta blood and be able to identify what it truly is. If that's the case, it might result in him suffering the impact of seeing a mythical creature. His intelligence will drop, and he will turn mentally unsound to the point of his body mutating. Klein hurriedly asked before Will Ossipton's pram retreated into the shadows, "I have a, teacher who I haven't been in contact for a while. Can you help me read his current fate? His name is Isaac Eggers." As Mr. Isaac hadn't replied yet, Klein couldn't help but feel worried. Back when he used the copper whistle to do a divination above the gray fog, all he saw was a silent and deep darkness. He heard a dragged-out and distant breathing, making it impossible for him to interpret what the dream meant. Will Ossipton sucked at his thumb and said, "He's in a state of metamorphosis. It might be good, but it might also be bad. That's all that can be seen because that teacher of yours has something special on him." Something special? Something directly derived from death's godhood. Metamorphosis. This is referring to Mr. Isaac's recovery of more memories, so he's in a slumber to recover his corresponding strength. Klein thought as he bowed. "Thank you for your answer." Will Ossipton turned his head and looked to the side. Klein thought and gave a warning. "Based on what I know, Blasphemer Ammon is here in Backland. Of course, it's most likely an avatar." Will Ossipton was taken aback for a moment before chuckling. "It's a bane for you, but a boon for me. Ammon and our Robberos are absolute enemies. No, a more accurate description is that he hates the true creator. Ammon is often thinking of means to pull him down from his throne as a god, while Ouroboros is loyal to that evil god." After saying that, the black pram retreated into the shadows as everything was restored to normal. Ammon hates the true creator. I'm increasingly convinced that the true creator was one of the participants in the sharing of the ancient sun god. He is the black infant in the middle of the storm angel, white angel, and wisdom angel. Klein breathed a sigh of relief. He took 2 steps forward, turned on the tap, and washed his hands. In the evening, at the East Balham Military Veterans Mess, Klein didn't immediately meet the long-faced Colonel Calvin. After he placed the briefcase with £10,000 into a heavy safe deposit box, he followed Mac to have a buffet meal at this high-end club. The dishes here mainly served Southern Continent cuisine. There was cream bread made from tapioca flour, ice cream dripped in the berry juice of a lilac tree, assorted seafood broth with coconut milk and palm butter, Cow innards that was cooked with pepper, tomatoes, and onions, Hagenti seared roasted meat, broth made from Paz Valley's delights, as well as steak and roasted squid. Compared to other places, the ingredients used here were rather high-end. The flavors were also in authentic Southern continent styles, leaving Klein rather satisfied. If not for his need to maintain his image, he felt that eating a mouthful of seared roasted meat and having a mouthful of ice cream would be an excellent feeling. Indeed, I prefer food that has stronger flavors. The thing that satisfied me the most today was that aperitif. If Member of Parliament Macht hadn't mentioned it in passing, I would have thought that it was a lightly flavored fruit juice. The pale gold liquid with 2 lemons soaked in it and a few pieces of ice makes it sweet but a little sour. There's no alcoholic taste to it, and it's refreshing. It instantly just draws away the heat from the body. Klein placed his napkin on the plate as he recounted the feelings he just had. At this moment, Macht returned from the washroom. He smiled as he bent down and whispered into Dwayne Dance's ear, "Same room as before." "All right." Klein got up, went to the room with the safe deposit box, and took out the small leather briefcase with £10,000 before heading over to the activity room where he had previously met Colonel Calvin twice. Calvin, with his long face, was already waiting inside. When he caught sight of the briefcase in Dwayne Dance's hand, he got up with a smile. "You really are a gentleman of action. I like such attitudes when handling matters." As he spoke, he extended his right hand and shook Dwayne Dance's hand. Klein then handed the briefcase to him and said with a humble smile, "As a merchant, if one isn't decisive and fast when facing an opportunity to make money, that means that they aren't suitable for this occupation." Calvin sat back down and opened the briefcase in front of Dwayne Dance and Macht. He roughly counted the neat stacks of cash. He quickly completed the confirmation check, closed the briefcase, and looked up at Dwayne Dance. "What other thoughts do you have towards the exact details of the transaction?" Klein deliberately wore a look as though he was organizing his words. After a few seconds, he said, "I'm planning on heading to the southern continent soon, to West Balham." Seeing Calvin and Macht show signs of surprise, he added, "I have some matters that aren't convenient to do while bringing plenty of firearms. And to make the transaction go smoothly, some advanced preparations are required." Hey, I have to put enough importance on this matter. It's a business worth tens of thousands of pounds. I'm thinking of first heading to West Balham to contact clients who have such needs and to clear out any obvious obstacles. At an agreed-upon time, I'll contact you via telegraph and head to East Balham's border to retrieve the goods. Calvin pondered for a moment and said, "You can send me a telegram after 20th June. I'll give you the details later. In short, after I receive the telegram, I'll inform the officer there and get them to pass the countersign and password to the designated personnel for them to head to the warehouse." Will you need any auxiliary personnel for protection during this time? When do you plan on leaving?" "I only wish to find a place to hide in West Balham where there's no Rose school of thought. The rest can be left to Danitz." "When do I leave?" "I obviously wish to leave today and arrive there today, but that will incur suspicion." Klein considered for 2 seconds and said, "There's no need for any security for the time being. In certain places in the southern continent, having such auxiliary personnel is the main cause for causing conflict. Don't worry, I have plenty of friends in West Balham. Without bringing anything of value, my safety can be guaranteed. As for when I'm leaving, my answer is as soon as possible." Calvin thought for nearly a minute before slowly nodding. "I'll send someone to receive you after dinner tomorrow. The military will have an airship that needs to send goods and personnel to Daisy Bay, and it's just a short distance to the southern continent via ship from there. If everything goes smoothly, it will just take 2 to 3 days. Even if there's a storm on the way, requiring a detour of the sea route, it will still take a maximum of a week." "Thank you," Klein sincerely stood up and bowed. From his point of view, leaving Backland with the military was safe enough. He wouldn't be made a target of suspicion. After discussing some details, Klein got up and bade farewell and returned to the foyer in preparation to leave. In the foyer, beside the dining table, there were nearly 10 military-clad or casually dressed men holding a cup of wine gathered. They were chatting and laughing about the recent rumors. When Klein swept his gaze over, he suddenly found a figure somewhat familiar. The man was more than 1.85 meters tall, but less than 1.9 meters. He had rather long arms, and his feet were faced outwards to a certain degree. His shoulders were abnormally broad, causing his black suit to appear rather tight. This. Klein's mind raced as his nerves tensed up. He had already recalled the source of the familiarity. It was the demigod that met crazy Captain Connors that night. He was the demigod suspected to be working for a particular faction of the royal family, one who was supervising the human trafficking. Although this high-sequence Beyonder was previously wearing a black hood that interfered with divination, preventing his appearance from being exposed, Klein remembered the traits of his body. That was what a faceless was good at,